Hello and welcome to Manga Tora 96, and today we are going to talk about Hige wo Soru Soshite Yoshikose wo Hiro, or in English, after being rejected, I shaved and took in a high school runaway, or Higehiro for short. This is a completely different series than any other series that I covered so far on this channel, as it is a character-driven drama, unlike shows like One Piece, My Hero Academia, Black Clover, and so on, who you can enjoy even if you're not fond or indifferent of the main cast in the series, because there are other aspects of the show you might find appealing, like world building, the fights, and so on, like myself for example, who finds the main cast of My Hero to be by far the worst main cast that I have ever seen in any shonen manga, and despite that, there are other aspects of this series, like the structure of the hero society, that are enough appealing for me to continue reading the manga. Unlike those aforementioned series, Higehiro, who is completely character driven and doesn't have much going on besides those characters, that's why this series isn't for anyone, especially if you don't like the characters or find those characters intriguing. Personally, I quite like this series, so I wanted to do a video in which I will go over each character and talk about their personalities and their past, which shaped them into the characters that we see right now in the story. Also, I want to highlight some relationship that those characters have with each other. Before we start, here's the spoiler warning, so for you who don't want to be spoiled, don't go further. For everyone else, let's start with the main male lead of Higehiro, Yoshida. Yoshida is a salaryman who lives alone in his apartment in Tokyo. One night, after being rejected by his boss, Arigoto, he had a fateful encounter with a runaway high school girl named Sayo. Living alone most of his life, Yoshida grew to be a highly independent person. He is an exceptional and reliable employee who's always dedicated to his work, pulling off overtime daily, and even helps lighten the load of tasks of his colleagues. He is a man of virtue. Even though he barely knew Sayo, he was more than willing to let her stay at his place and felt a sense of responsibility of guiding and watching over her. He is very kind towards others, which baffles almost anyone who knew him. He is also a huge gentleman. Unlike most other men, he resists firmly to temptation, as seen when Sayo was initially very seductive of him and asked him to make love with her. He believes that he should only do that with a woman whom he loves, and that his feelings are also being reciprocated. Because of his upright and serious nature, Yoshida is not good in dealing with women, especially those who can control the flow of conversation. He only had one girlfriend throughout his life, and it was a high school senpai. Yoshida openly admitted that his type are mature, older women. As for Yoshida's past, 5 years ago, Yoshida applied for an IT company as a programmer and met Airi. Since then, he has been crushing over her for 5 years until he finally scored a date. After confessing his feelings, he was promptly rejected by Airi, who claimed that she already had a boyfriend. On his way home, he bumped into a high school girl squatting beneath a lamppost near his apartment. The girl, needing a place to stay, tried to seduce him into letting her stay over. Yoshida, although drunk and heartbroken, waved off her advances but brought her over to his apartment. As for Yoshida's relationship with Sayo, Sayo is Yoshida's temporary charge who lives with him in his apartment. Among the men whom Sayo tried to seduce in order to have a roof over her head, Yoshida was the only one to ever turn her down, and also the only one to let her stay without any demands. Yoshida felt that even though he and Sayo are completely strangers to each other, his moral principles won't allow him to just let a runaway high school girl with nothing be left to her own devices. Sayo was skeptical at first about Yoshida's unconditional kindness, so she continued to make advances to him and coerce him to have sex with her, saying she doesn't mind if it was him, but Yoshida stood by his principles of not making love to a woman he doesn't like. For Yoshida, ever since Sayo came, his life has changed. Sayo's presence made Yoshida's place cozy and a home that made him want to go home early. Yoshida proposed to Sayo to stay until she makes up her mind to return back home. As for Yoshida's relationship with Airi, Airi is Yoshida's boss and a woman he's been crushing on for 5 years. Just when Yoshida finally scored a date with her, he was rejected, although this didn't stop him from liking her. After that, they continued to be cordial with each other until Airi became suspicious of Yoshida, who's been going home early, and Yuzuha clinging into him. When they went out together to a restaurant the second time, Yoshida confronted Airi and asked why she's so interested in his actions. Airi confessed that she has liked Yoshida for a long time but rejected him because she felt his only interest in her body and the relationship won't work out. Airi then told Yoshida that she'll be the one to confess to him in the future and ask him to wait until then. Yoshida then told Airi the truth about Sayo and the fact that they are living together. As for Yoshida's relationship with Yuzuha, Yuzuha is Yoshida's subordinate and menete. Yuzuha is a newcomer and was subsequently placed under Yoshida's supervision for a project. Unlike Yoshida, she wasn't serious and dedicated about work, much to Yoshida's annoyance. Over the time they have been together, Yuzuha developed feelings for Yoshida, but the latter is too oblivious to notice. For Yoshida, she is nothing but a subordinate and friend. Moving on to the main female lead, Sayo. Sayo Ogiwara is a runaway high school girl from Hokkaido who ended up in Tokyo. One night, while squatting beneath a lamppost, she had a fateful encounter with a drunk salaryman named Yoshida. After running away from her hometown and family for unclear reasons, Sayo was forced to adapt and live her new life as a runaway high school girl. With no money to sustain her basic needs like food and shelter, she gathered her resolve and resorted into seducing men using her body as a bargain chip in order to survive. As she kept this lifestyle for about half a year, she became shrewd and adopted a playful, flirty mask to hide her pain and use her bright smile for deceit. To mask her identity, she used aliases. She also developed a high level of maturity and strong mental fortitude, traits which are uncommon for a normal high school girl to have at her age. She hated what she was doing at first, but after a while, being wanted by men she's with made her feel she could be herself and that she was needed. For her, it was simple and she liked it that way. Because she was already used to that kind of agreement, she was conflicted when Yoshida let her stay without any significant demands. She doesn't know what to do if people don't want her. Sayo dislikes facing things in a straightforward way. She will do what she can just to delay things she doesn't want to deal with. All she wants to do is run away from everything, to live an easier life, but at the same she yearns for someone to scold her and tell her to stop running. Through the help of Yoshida and Airi, to name a few, she had come to terms with herself and her issues, finally deciding to face the reality that she has to return back home. As for Sayo's past, Sayo is the 17-year-old daughter of the Ogiwara family, a prominent family hailing from the city of Ashikawa, Hokkaido. Her older brother Isa Ogiwara is currently a CEO of a famous food corporation. She was a second-year high school student at Ashikawa 6th High School when she ran away from home for unknown reasons. For 6 months, she continually traded sexual favors to random strangers for a place to stay. She ended up in Tokyo and had her fateful encounter with Yoshida, a 26-year-old salaryman and the first one to turn down her advances. As for Sayo's relationship with Yoshida, Yoshida acts as Sayo's temporary guardian in Tokyo. Among the men whom Sayo tried to seduce in order to have a roof over her head, Yoshida was the only one to ever turn her down and also the only one to let her stay without any demands. Sayo is implied to have developed romantic feelings for Yoshida, but decided to suppress it in order to not get in the way of Yoshida's love life and put a strain on their relationship. As for Sayo's relationship with Asami, Asami is Sayo's Gyaru best friend and colleague in her part-time job. Sayo quickly became friends with Asami the moment they first met each other, as both of them are of the same age and works at a part-time job together. It was not difficult for them to form a bond with each other, Asami is very protective of Sayo, and as time went by, the two developed a close sister-like relationship and often studied together during their breaks. Moving on to Airi. Arigoto is Yoshida's boss and love interest. Airi is a smart and manipulative type of woman. She's always trying to get other people to say things she wants to hear. She asks questions despite the answers being obvious. Yoshida describes her as a woman with "I'm taunting you, what of it?" kind of an attitude, which he dislikes, but at the same time found it extremely charming. She claimed that she never had a boyfriend and is a virgin, but she's more than capable of using her sensual side to her advantage. Aside from being manipulative, she is also good in hiding her true nature, which Sayo describes as creepy. Despite all of that, she's still a kind and caring person. She opened Sayo's eyes and made her understand about her situation, although in a roundabout way. She also sympathized with Yuzuha's feelings for Yoshida. Even though she's aware that Yoshida and Sayo are drawing closer to each other, she opted not to interfere and see through it. As for Airi's past, Airi was already an employee of the company Yoshida applied to when they first met. Since then, they have maintained a good relationship as superior and subordinate. Soon enough, she became aware of Yoshida's attraction towards her and started to like him too. However, she didn't do anything until Yoshida finally mustered up the courage to ask her on a date. She was confessed to by Yoshida, but she promptly rejected it as she claimed that she already is dating someone. Moving on to Yuzuha. Yuzuha Mishima is Yoshida's junior who secretly has romantic feelings for him. Yuzuha generally has a laid-back personality. She remains relaxed and unfazed even if deadlines and tasks are piling up. Although she is highly capable of doing her job efficiently, she opts not to exert effort as she believes overworking will soon just result in death. Instead, she uses the favoritism she gets from her other superiors to her advantage. The only time Yuzuha gets serious is when her behavior compromises Yoshida, as she likes him. She is an avid movie watcher but tries to deny it. Yuzuha was a new recruit to Yoshida's company after jumping from one mentor to another on multiple projects. She was later assigned to Yoshida's project and became his new mentor. And lastly, the best girl in the series, Asami. Asami Yuki is a high school gyaro and Sayo's best friend who works in the same part-time job in Tokyo. Asami's racy, intense and free-spirited personality was highly influenced by the gyaro subculture, and to embrace this non-conformity she dyed her hair to blonde, tanned her skin and adopted the Gal language, Gyaru-go, into her daily speech. However, there are times where she subconsciously switches to standard Japanese, especially when she is talking seriously or when she is angry. Later on, she admitted that she started being a gyaro to get her distant parents' attention. Asami is a compassionate and a responsible type of person. She gets along well with others. She is particularly fond and protective of Sayo, but doesn't pry too much on her previous life more than she needs to. She is smart and consistently has good grades in school. Also, she is very perceptive and can easily see through other people's lies. As for Asami's past, Asami is born to a well-off family in Tokyo. Her father is a politician while her mother is a lawyer. Currently, she is a high school student who works part-time at a convenience store near her neighborhood. When Sayo started her new job at the convenience store, she was welcomed by Asami, who was very ecstatic to have the new cute girl as her colleague. With this, I covered everything I wanted about the main cast of Higehiro, and that will be all for this video. If you like this video, leave a like, leave your thoughts in the comments below, or subscribe to the channel for more manga reviews and One Piece content. And until next time, take care.